What you have just seen is called a Halloween hologram projection. What you're trying to do is simulate something called the Pepper's Ghost illusion. And all that is the illusion of a character, be it a ghost or whatever, walking around a room that is transparent, that is see-through. If you've ever been to Disney World or Disneyland and gone to the Haunted Mansion, you have seen what might be the world's largest Pepper's Ghost illusion, which was in the part of the Haunted Mansion where you go into that long ballroom that there's a birthday party going on and there's ghosts dancing a waltz and all kinds of stuff going on. That is the Pepper's Ghost illusion. That is the effect you are trying to recreate here. To do what you just saw using classic Pepper's Ghost techniques would be extremely expensive and time-consuming. Thanks to the latest technological advances, you can now pull it off substantially cheaper. I will not say cheap, because there are some things you need to sink a little money into if you want to do this and do it right. But we're going to go through this, cover the materials used, the equipment you need, how to set it up, how to pull it off, and little tips here and there that you really need to know before you even start out. Before you start sinking money into this thing, some things you want to consider. The first thing is, where do you get footage, videos of these ghosts or these skeletons or whatever it is you want to use? And there are different places online if you want to do a search. What I use came from a company called atmosphereeffects.com, and they have DVDs and downloads that you can get. One of them is called Ghostly Apparitions. You can get this as a DVD, or you can get individual scenes from that DVD as downloads. And that's what they have, other ones too, but Ghostly Apparitions is what you just saw up there. After that, you feed that video into a projector, and you play the whatever you want. You get a DVD, okay, you need a DVD player or your laptop, or you download it and you figure out how to Bluetooth it or whatever, depending on whatever equipment you take. Anyway, you feed it into a projector and then project it onto a very sheer piece of fabric that is hopefully unnoticeable, but will still capture the image. And because the material is sheer and see-through, you'll see the image, but you'll see through the image. And we'll demonstrate this as we go, but that's the first thing you need, is the video to do it, and my recommendation is Atmosphere Effects. Let's take a look at projectors now. This is a projector. You can buy these new for several $100s. You can also find them on eBay for substantially less. One of the things that makes them cheaper is if they're getting up there in lamp hours. These things have a very bright lamp inside them that most of them are rated between 2,000 and 3,000 hours. So if you can get a used one on eBay, try to get one with like maybe at least 1,000 hours left on the bulb. And there is a way to tell this. There's a menu you can pop up on the thing that'll tell you how many hours the thing has been used. Another thing you want to consider is how strong you need this thing to be and how powerful you need it to be. And that is, projectors are rated in their output by a term lumens. And all that means is how bright it is and how powerful it is and so forth. And this really depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're going to project giant things on the side of your house, you need a powerful projector. You need a bright projector. You need at least 2,000, maybe more lumens. If you're going to do one of these Halloween projections like we're teaching you right now, I don't know, maybe 1,500 you could get away with. This projector right here is 2,800, I believe, but I don't think you would need that much to do what we're showing you how to do here. There are other videos you can get that are simple silhouettes. that are just a very simple black figure on a white background. If you don't need a whole lot of detail, and you don't need, you know, if you're just going to project it onto, like, say, a shower curtain on your window, you can get away with lower lumens in that case. Another thing about projectors you need to know before you go out shopping for one is you need to know how you're going to connect your video source to it. If you are using a DVD player, well, does the projector have connections that match the DVD player? If you're using a laptop computer, they use something called VGA cables, and that's it right there. So yes, I can connect my computer to this. Here are the three things you could use for a DVD player. Probably can't see it really well, but this is S-Video, and there's USB, two different types of USB here. So it all depends on what you might want to connect something via an HDMI cable. You couldn't do that with this one because it doesn't have HDMI capability. But anyway, that's one thing that you want to keep in mind. There's what's being projected right now. Okay, this is one of the menus in the thing, and you can see it has various kind of adjustments. You can make brightness, contrast, color saturation. You can go down to different things here, and where's one of them? See there at the top, lamp hours. There's normal mode and economy mode, and economy mode will last longer. It's a bit of a smaller brightness, lesser brightness, but as you can see, this projector here I use for more than Halloween, and the lamp hours are really getting up there, so I'm probably gonna need a new bulb sooner or later. But anyway, that's what that's talking about. And see if I can find here, go down to Keystone. I'm going to talk about here in just a second. Test pattern. Now, what Keystone is if you're not projecting dead on at your surface like that, when you get more or less a perfect rectangle, a perfect square. If you projected it's hard to do this, upward or downward angle, like that, you see how the image starts to distort? Now that was automatic keystone correction right there, which this one has. You have up and down keystone correction. Because what happens if you're projecting at an angle, like if you're sitting on the floor, if you have the projector sitting on the floor, you're going to get an image that looks like that right there, trapezoidal. If you have it mounted on the ceiling and you're projecting low on the wall, you're going to get something that looks like that. What Keystone does is correct for that and square the picture up. Now, one of the cool things about Epson, a lot of Epson projectors, I don't know if they all do it, but definitely not every projector, period, does this. This one has horizontal left and right keystone adjustment too, and what that means, let me see. You see that, how trapezoidal that is? Now, this is really hard to do this with one hand because I'm holding the phone too. But you move this bar back and forth and it corrects for that. Now, watch this. Squares it right up again. So you're going to have, your image is not going to be distorted. It's not going to be all kinds of larger as you go to the right and smaller on the left. You'll be able to square this up. And that's a really handy feature to have because sometimes you don't want to. In fact, in this particular application we're doing with the holograms and stuff, you definitely do not want to project directly at the surface. And the reason for that is your audience then that you're trying to fool is going to see the hot spot of the projector. What is a hot spot? That's the hot spot. And if you're projecting directly at a surface, they're going to see that. And that is not a good thing. You want to overcome that. So how do you do that? Well, we'll show you. Those are some things you need to know about projectors. How powerful do you need? Depends on your circumstance. What connectivity do you need? Useful features like this. You can probably get away without this, and maybe more projectors have this than I know of, but A lot of Epsons definitely do. I love Epson projectors. I have 3 of them. So, next thing is, what do you project your image onto? Let's look at that now. And here's an example of the type of material I'm talking about. This is a very sheer mesh bridal veil type of material. What you saw upstairs, and it's still mounted upstairs, we'll look at that in a minute, is a chiffon that came from Joann's Fabrics. It's called their Casa Collection chiffon. The color is platinum. This is not the same stuff, but it's very similar. But these are basically the qualities you want. You want something, you know, very see-through. You have to get right up on top of it to even know it's there. And you look back and you project from the other side, like the spectators out here where I am. The projector's on the other side of the screen, and you project onto the screen like that. And that's just a test pattern, but when you are projecting a character onto it, you will see the character, and then you will see everything behind the character as well, which gives an illusion if it's a real ghost that you can see through. Now, one of the problems with doing these kinds of projections is not only the hot spot, which again you see there, but there's another thing you have to worry about called bleed through. What is bleed through? Well, that is bleed through. It is when the image not only shows up on the mesh, but bleeds through the mesh to any surface that is beyond it. Obviously, if you're, projecting something and you see the exact same image farther away, it kind of gives the whole show away. So you need to take steps to minimize that, and we're going to go into that here in just a minute. And there's the kind of effect you can achieve. This is what we're going for. A character you can see through. And now, you know the screen is there, but here's something I want to point out. You don't want to give the audience any other frame of reference. In other words, everything that they see should be covered by the screen so that they don't see that. Once you look away, once you look anywhere other than the screen, you can tell the screen is there. When this is all you have to look at, that screen kind of disappears in and of itself. And again, there's the bleed through. You have to make sure, take steps so that the audience cannot see that, and we'll go over that. And so this is what we had going on. This is the chiffon that I have tacked to the wooden edge of the window. Pull it nice and tight. And we were projecting from over here on the floor. Running the output from the laptop into the projector. The beam starts at the floor, travels up at an upward angle, hits the screen, and then sails off into the night sky. You're never going to see any bleed through, and to see something sitting on the floor over there like the hot spot, you would pretty much need to be sitting on top of that street light right there. So that's how that's accomplished. Now here's another example of what I mean by bleed through and controlling sight lines and all that stuff. This is an actual diagram of my house. I have the house here, then I have a detached garage. The street is out here, okay? Right in here, this is the garage door that you roll up and drive your car into, but there's also a normal sized door over here. Now, if I do not let anybody come up into this position here, the only way you can see into the garage is somewhere down around in here, okay? You cannot see through the house there. You cannot see through the corner of the garage there. All you can see is this way. Great. What if I put my projector right here where it can't be seen. What if I mount my screen fabric about like that and project that way? The audience is only going to see the image projected onto the screen, and they're going to see the background. You have the lights on in the garage, you're going to see everything in the garage behind it, so it looks like a real ghost they can see through. And where does the bleed through go? Back here, where the spectator is never going to see. That's one more example. And here's another example. Let's say this is my living room, like I'm showing you upstairs. I have the projector on the floor, and we're projecting at this upward angle so that nobody on the street can see, okay? What if I'm in a circumstance, I'm in a house or on a property or whatever, where I can't do that? For whatever reason, I can't project from the floor, and the street is level with the window, and I have to project. I can't even project from the floor over here. I'll put the projector over here, but I have to put it at waist height or even eye height. So if I put it here, people out on the street would see the hot spot. Okay, I put it over here, I project, the image shows up on the window, the bleed through goes out in this neighborhood. How do you stop it from being seen? Well, you just have to figure something out. Put something here to block the view of the spectators on the street from seeing both the hot spot and the bleed through. Just put something there. Build a prop or a wall or the crypt for your flying crank ghost, or just stack up a bunch of corn stalks or hay bales or something. You just have to be creative and figure out something, you know, based on whatever circumstance you have to deal with. And I'll tell you something else. If you can't figure something out, my advice to you is don't do this, because I don't see the point. There's no point in going through all this time and trouble and expense to pull off this great illusion and then make it absolutely obvious to everybody how you're doing it. I see no point in that whatsoever. Okay, so that's about it. Sorry about that HDMI thing. I completely forgot about it. I don't use HDMI myself, so I forgot the projector had it. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is just, before you shell out money for a projector, make sure it has the connections you're going to need. Another example of that might be, maybe sound quality is very important to you, so you want to hook up a good set of speakers. Fine, make sure that your projector has an audio out port. So that's the whole point of that. One more thing that I very briefly flew past in the video, I want to emphasize a little more, is make sure your entire viewing area is covered by your material. And an example that might be what you just saw. I was projecting on a large central window. What you may or may not have noticed is there was a smaller window on either side of that main window. I did not have the material stretched across those smaller windows, so I pulled the drape shut and didn't let anybody look in those windows. Why? If you have 3 adjacent windows looking in on the same room, and only one of them is covered by the fabric, it's going to be completely obvious. Everybody's going to know it's there. In the same way, I know a lot of people are interested in trying to do this effect outdoors. And I'm absolutely not trying to discourage anybody from doing that. I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Don't forget that, because if you think you're just going to hang a screen up in the middle of your yard and nobody's going to notice, you're nuts. It's going to be completely obvious. So just keep that in mind is all I'm saying. So that's it. If you have any questions, want me to clarify something, or maybe something I didn't cover, ask them in the comments section below. I will try to check back in periodically and answer as best I can. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Later.